The stars twinkled indifferently as two massive fleets faced each other across the void. On one side, the crystalline ships of the Arcturians reflected light in dazzling patterns. On the other, the smoky vessels of the Vesperians rippled like dark clouds against the blackness of space. For 300 years, these two civilizations had fought over the same territories, the same resources, and neither side had gained any advantage. The Arcturians were beings of living crystal. Their bodies channeled light in complex patterns that served as their language. Their society valued order and symmetry above all else. They had conquered the northern regions of the galaxy, building perfect geometric cities on thousands of worlds. The Vesperians existed as conscious gas clouds contained within specially designed vessels. They communicated through density fluctuations and chemical reactions. Their civilization prized adaptation and flow. They had spread throughout the southern galaxy, creating floating habitats that drifted through the atmospheres of gas giants. Between them lay the disputed zone, 50 star systems that both sides claimed. The war had devastated these once thriving regions. Planets had been bombed until their surfaces cracked. Space stations lay broken and abandoned. The few surviving inhabitants had long since fled or perished. Today marked the start of the 300th year of war. Neither side remembered exactly what had triggered the conflict. Some scholars believed it began over a misunderstanding about resource rights. Others claimed it started with a cultural offense that could not be forgiven. Whatever the cause, the war had continued for so long that fighting had become normal. Peace had become unimaginable. On the bridge of the Arcturian command ship Crystal Spear, Supreme Commander Xerax watched the enemy fleet through sensory fields. His crystalline body pulsed with blue light as he communicated with his officers. The Vesperians have brought their usual number of ships, he observed. They will attack from 3 directions, as they always do. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander, Quartz, flashed acknowledgement patterns. And we will counter as we always do. The battle will end in stalemate, as it always does. Neither officer questioned why they continued fighting. Their duty was to follow the war protocols established by their ancestors. Victory seemed impossible, but surrender was unthinkable. Across the battlefield, aboard the Vesperian flagship Eternal Mist, High Commander Nebula swirled within her containment vessel. Her gaseous form shifted between shades of purple and green as she reviewed the tactical display. The Arcturians maintain their standard formation, she noted to her advisors. They will deploy their crystal drones first, followed by their energy lances. Her chief strategist, War Planner Vapor, rippled in agreement. We will counter with our usual defenses. The battle will proceed as it has 10,000 times before. The Vesperians knew they could not win. Their weapons could penetrate Arcturian shields, but Arcturian regeneration technology repaired damage almost instantly. Similarly, the Arcturians could hit Vesperian ships, but the gaseous beings simply redistributed themselves to undamaged vessels. The war had become a ritual, a performance both sides enacted without hope of conclusion. As both fleets prepared to engage, an unexpected energy signature appeared between them. A small ship, unlike any design known to either civilization, dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in the battle zone. On the bridge of the Earth exploration ship Horizon, alarms blared as Captain Allison Wright took in the scene before 2 alien fleets, both in battle formation, reported her first officer, Jack Bennett. His hands flew over the controls as he assessed the situation. Both appear armed and ready to engage. Captain, we've dropped right into the middle of a war zone. Allison gripped the arms of her command chair. The Horizon was humanity's first deep space exploration vessel. Built with newly developed faster-than-light technology, it carried a crew of 200 scientists, engineers, and military personnel. Their mission was to explore and establish first contact with alien civilizations. They had not expected to find themselves in the middle of an alien conflict. Raise shields. Prepare escape routes, she ordered calmly. Communications, are you? Receiving any transmissions from either fleet? Communications Officer Lisa Riley nodded. Multiple signals, Captain. They're transmitting in unknown languages, but the universal translator is processing them. Put it through when ready. The bridge fell silent as everyone waited. After a few tense moments, the translator produced its first results. "Captain," Lisa said, her voice tight with surprise, "both sides are ordering us to identify ourselves, and both sides are offering us alliance against the other." Allison raised an eyebrow. "They're trying to recruit us?" "It appears so," Lisa confirmed. "The translation is rough, but both messages contain offers of technology and resources in exchange for our assistance." Before Allison could respond, Science Officer Samuel Peterson spoke up from his station. "Captain, I'm analyzing the energy readings from both fleets. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but there's something strange about the pattern of advancement." "Explain," Allison prompted. "It's as if they've been developing weapons and defenses specifically to counter each other. For every weapon, one side has, the other has the perfect defense and vice versa. It's like they've evolved into perfect opponents." Tactical Officer Kate Powell added her assessment. "Their fleets are perfectly matched, Captain. Neither side has a numerical or positional advantage. This looks like a battle that could go on forever without a winner." Allison considered this information carefully. Humanity had only recently reached the stars. Earth had unified under a single government just 50 years earlier, after centuries of war had nearly destroyed the planet. The hard lessons of those conflicts had shaped human development. They had learned that understanding different perspectives was essential for peace. "Send a message to both fleets," Allison decided. "Inform them that we are a neutral third party from Earth. Request a temporary ceasefire so we can establish communication." As Lisa transmitted the message, the science team continued analyzing the alien civilizations. "The crystalline ships belong to a species that appears to communicate through light patterns," Samuel reported. "The others seem to be some form of gaseous entity contained in specialized vessels. Their biology and psychology are likely radically different from each other, and from us," Allison added thoughtfully. To everyone's surprise, both alien fleets halted their approach. After a brief pause, responses came from both sides, agreeing to a temporary truce to communicate with the new arrivals. "They've both invited us to send representatives to discuss an alliance," Lisa announced. "Or we could invite them here," Jack suggested. "Neutral ground." Allison nodded slowly. "Prepare the conference room. We'll host delegations from both sides." She stood up and straightened her uniform. "Contact Earth Command immediately. Inform President Martinez that we've encountered 2 alien civilizations locked in war, and that both want our help." "What are your orders, Captain?" Jack asked. Allison stared at the view screen where the 2 massive fleets hung motionless against the stars. "We came here to explore and establish peaceful contact," she said firmly. "But it seems we found something else, a war that no one can win." She turned to face her crew. "Let's see if humanity can help them find a way to end it." The message to Earth traveled faster than light, but the response would still take hours. Meanwhile, Captain Allison Wright prepared to meet the alien delegations. She selected a small team: Science Officer Samuel Peterson, Communications Officer Lisa Riley, and Security Chief Alan Garcia. "We need to understand why they can't end this war," Allison told her team as they gathered in the conference room. 300 years is a long time to fight without a winner. The room had been divided into 3 sections. The human area contained normal chairs and tables. The Arctarian section featured crystalline platforms that would resonate with their light-based communication. The Vesperian area included special atmosphere generators that would allow them to exit their containment vessels safely. "The translator should help us understand their languages," Lisa said, adjusting settings on her device. "But understanding their thinking will be harder." Samuel nodded in agreement. These species evolved in completely different environments. Their basic concepts might not translate easily to our understanding, or to each other's, Alan added, checking his non-lethal defensive equipment one last time. A chime sounded, indicating the arrival of the first shuttle. The Arctarian delegation had reached the horizon. 3 crystalline beings entered the conference room. They moved with precise geometric motions. Their bodies reflected light in complex patterns that the humans couldn't interpret naturally. The lead Arctarian stood slightly taller than the others, its crystal form shifting between blue and violet hues. Welcome aboard the Horizon, Allison said formally. I am Captain Allison Wright. The translator processed her words, converting them into light patterns. The lead Arcturian flashed in response, and the translator spoke in a synthetic voice. I am High Prism Zenith of the Arcturian Unity. We acknowledge your neutrality, humans. Your appearance is fortuitous. The enemy must be defeated. Before Allison could respond, the second shuttle arrived. The Vesperian delegation entered through a separate airlock. 3 containment vessels floated into the room, each holding swirling gases in shades of green and purple. The vessels were connected to mechanical limbs that allowed the Vesperians to manipulate objects. I am Flow Director Cumulus of the Vesperian Collective. The lead Vesperian introduced itself after the translator processed the chemical signals from its gaseous form. We appreciate your neutrality, humans. Your assistance will help us overcome the enemy. Allison noticed how both sides used similar language. Both called the other the enemy, without using specific names. Both assumed humans would help them win. We haven't agreed to help either side, Allison clarified. We want to understand this conflict first. 300 years is a long time to fight without reaching a conclusion. High Prism Zenith's crystals pulsed rapidly. The conflict continues because the enemy refuses to accept the correct organization of resources. The conflict continues because the enemy insists on rigid control of what should flow freely. Flow Director Cumulus countered, its gases swirling faster. Samuel leaned forward with interest. You're fighting over how to manage resources? Both aliens confirmed this was essentially correct. The Arcturians believe in fixed orderly systems, Zenith explained. All things must have their place. The Vesperians understand that adaptation and change are necessary, Cumulus countered. Resources must flow where needed. Allison exchanged glances with her team. A 300-year war over resource management philosophy seemed extreme. Have you tried compromise? Lisa asked. Perhaps combining both approaches? Both alien leaders responded with what the humans recognized as confusion. The translator struggled with their replies, but the message became clear. Neither species could conceive of adopting the other's methods. Their biology and psychology made compromise literally unthinkable. As the meeting continued, more details emerged. The Arcturians and Vesperians had evolved in completely different environments. Arcturians came from a crystalline planet with predictable cycles and stable conditions. Vesperians evolved in the chaotic atmosphere of a gas giant. Their fundamental understanding of reality differed at the most basic level. After 2 hours of increasingly tense discussion, Allison called for a break. The alien delegations returned to their shuttles, promising to continue talks later. Back on the bridge, Allison received word that a message had arrived from Earth. President Gregory Martinez appeared on the main screen. His expression was serious but curious. Captain Wright, your report is extraordinary. First contact with not one but 2 advanced alien civilizations, both locked in war. What's your assessment of the situation? Allison stood with her hands behind her back. Sir, we're dealing with 2 species that evolved along completely different paths. Both highly intelligent, both technologically advanced, but with incompatible worldviews. They've been fighting so long they can't imagine peace. And they both want our help, the president noted. What do you recommend? I believe we can help them, sir, but not by taking sides. Humanity has something neither of them has. And what's that, Captain? Perspective. We evolved as adaptable problem solvers. We can understand both rigid structures and flexible systems. We've learned from our own wars that understanding different viewpoints is essential for peace, isn't it? Martinez nodded slowly. Very well. I'm authorizing Operation Harmony. Your mission is to find a peaceful solution to this conflict. You have 5 hours before I must report to the United Earth Council. 5 hours? Allison couldn't hide her surprise. That's all the time we have before word spreads and other nations demand involvement. Do what you can, Captain. Martinez out. The screen went blank. Allison turned to her officers. 5 hours to end a 300-year war. Let's get to work. She called for all department heads to meet immediately. In the ship's main conference room, she explained the situation. "We need solutions, not observations," she told her team. "Each of you, approach this from your specialty. What can humans see that these aliens can't?" Engineer Paul Johnson spoke first. "I've been analyzing their technology. Both sides use quantum-locked crystalline compounds for their ships, but they're using different resonance frequencies. If they adjusted those frequencies, they could access resources that are currently invisible to both of them." Military strategist Colonel Adam White added his thoughts. "Their battle tactics are completely predictable to each other. They've been fighting the same way for centuries. They need asymmetric approaches. Their languages contain no concept of compromise," Lisa pointed out. "I've been studying the translator data. They literally cannot express certain ideas to each other." Samuel had been quiet, but now he looked up with excitement. "What if we could help them understand each other? Not just translate words, but translate perspectives." "How would we do that?" Allison asked. "We modify our neural interface technology. Create an empathy translator that converts thought patterns between species." The room fell silent as everyone considered this idea. "It could work," Lisa finally said, "but building it would take time." "Time is something we don't have," Allison reminded them. "We have less than 5 hours to find a way to end this war." She stood up, decision made. "Paul, work on the resonance frequency solution. Lisa and Samuel develop the empathy translator concept. Adam, prepare a strategic plan that gives both sides advantages without disadvantaging either. The rest of you, support these teams." As her crew dispersed to their tasks, Allison stared out the viewport at the two massive alien fleets still holding position in space. Somewhere in the human perspective lay the answer to a conflict that had devastated thousands of worlds. 5 hours to solve what alien civilizations couldn't resolve in 3 centuries. The countdown had begun. The first hour passed quickly as the human crew worked on their solutions. Captain Allison Wright moved between teams, checking progress and offering encouragement. The alien delegations remained on their shuttles, waiting for the next meeting. In Teal, the engineering lab, Paul Johnson and his team studied the alien materials they had scanned from both fleets. "Look at this," Paul said, pointing to a holographic display showing molecular structures. "Both species use the same base materials for their ships and technology. The only difference is how they arrange the molecules." His assistant, Susan Lee, nodded in understanding. "The Arcturians lock their molecules in rigid patterns. The Vesperians allow theirs to flow in controlled streams." "Exactly," Paul confirmed. "But what if we could show them a middle approach, a structure that combines stability with flexibility?" They began building a prototype using the ship's molecular printers. Their goal was to create a small device that could adjust quantum frequencies, allowing both alien species to see resources they currently couldn't detect. Meanwhile, in the communications center, Lisa Riley and Samuel Peterson worked on their empathy translator. They had connected their standard translator to the ship's neural mapping system, originally designed to help humans communicate with each other during complex operations. "The challenge is massive," Samuel admitted, as he adjusted the system parameters. "We're not just translating words, we're trying to translate entire worldviews." Lisa nodded as she sorted through the language data they had collected. "The Arcturians have no words for flow or adapt. The Vesperians have no concept of permanence or stability. That's why they can't understand each other," Samuel realized. "It's not just that they won't compromise. They literally cannot comprehend each other's basic values." In the tactical center, Colonel Adam White studied battle records from the alien war. His experience in Earth's past conflicts gave him a unique perspective. "They're both using perfect symmetrical warfare," he explained to Captain Wright when she checked his progress. "Every attack has a perfect counter. Every defense has a perfect weakness. It's like they're playing chess where neither side can ever checkmate." "What's your solution?" Allison asked. Adam displayed a new battle plan on his screen. "Asymmetric resource allocation. Instead of fighting over the same systems, they could each expand in directions the other doesn't value. The Arcturians prefer stable planetary systems. The Vesperians thrive in gas giants and nebulae. There's enough space in this sector for both to expand without competing. At the 2-hour mark, Allison called her team leaders together. Progress reports, she requested. Paul spoke first. We've created a prototype resonance modulator. It can reveal resources that are currently invisible to both species because of how they perceive quantum states. Our empathy translator is functioning at basic levels, Samuel reported next. It can convert Arcturian concepts into forms Vesperians might understand and vice versa. It's not perfect, but it's a start. And I've mapped out territories where each species could thrive without competing with the other, Adam concluded. Allison nodded with satisfaction. Good work, everyone. Now we need to bring the alien delegations back for the next phase. The aliens returned to the conference room, both sides still wary of each other. Captain Wright explained that humans had been analyzing the situation and had developed potential solutions. Before we present our findings, she said carefully, we need to understand more about how this war began. High Prism Zenith's crystalline body flickered with blue light. The conflict began when the Vesperians violated the resource distribution protocols in the Centauri sector. Flow Director Cumulus swirled with agitation inside its containment vessel. The conflict began when the Arcturians imposed rigid controls on resources that should flow naturally in the Centauri sector. Allison noted how both mentioned the same sector, but described the problem differently. What was in the Centauri sector that made it so important? Both aliens described a rare element their civilizations needed. The humans recognized it as similar to what Earth scientists called neutronium, a super-dense material used in advanced energy systems. And this element exists only in the Centauri sector? Samuel asked. It is where the element is most accessible, Zenith answered. It is where the element flows most freely, Cumulus added. Paul stepped forward with his prototype device. We've analyzed your scanning technologies. Both of your species can only detect this element at certain quantum frequencies. But our scans show it exists throughout this region of space, at different frequencies. He activated the device, which projected a holographic map of the disputed zone. Different colors showed resources at different quantum frequencies. The areas you're fighting over represent only 20% of the available resources, Paul explained. With simple modifications to your sensors, you could each access 5 times more of this element without competing with each other. Both alien leaders showed signs of surprise. Their translations contained terms of disbelief and confusion. This cannot be correct, Zenith insisted. Our sensors are perfect. Our detection systems are advanced beyond error, Cumulus added. Samuel activated the empathy translator. Perhaps we can help you understand each other's perspective on this. The device hummed softly as it processed the neural patterns of both species. Then it displayed 2 separate holograms. One showed the universe, as the Arcturians perceived it, a perfectly ordered structure where everything had its proper place. The other showed how the Vesperians saw reality, a flowing, ever-changing system where adaptation was key to survival. Both of these views are valid, Samuel explained. Both are true from a certain perspective, but neither is complete on its own. Lisa approached with data reports. Your languages evolved to express your own experiences. The Arcturians have 57 words for different types of perfect crystalline structures. The Vesperians have 43 terms for various flow patterns, but neither language can express the concepts that are basic to the other species. Allison watched as both alien delegations absorbed this information. She could see signs of confusion, but also the first hints of understanding. We don't suggest that either of you change your fundamental nature, she said carefully. But perhaps you can expand your understanding to include other possibilities. Adam presented his strategic plan next. There are regions of space better suited to Arcturian settlement, stable systems with solid planets. And there are regions more appropriate for Vesperian expansion, gas giants and nebulae with dynamic environments. Instead of competing for the same territories, you could each develop the areas that match your natural preferences. The alien leaders were silent for several minutes, processing these new ideas. Then High Prism Zenith spoke. Your species is young, yet you perceive what we have not seen in 3 centuries. How is this possible? Captain Wright considered her answer carefully. Humans evolved as adaptable problem solvers. Our planet has both solid ground and flowing water, stable mountains and changing weather. We understand both perspectives because we've experienced both. We also learned from our own conflicts, she continued. We nearly destroyed ourselves fighting over resources before we realized cooperation benefited everyone more than competition. 3 hours had passed. They had 2 hours remaining to end a war that had lasted 3 centuries. The foundations had been laid, but the hardest part was still to come, convincing both sides to take the first step toward peace. The 4th hour began with a tentative breakthrough. Both alien leaders had agreed to test the human theories, but they remained cautious. Neither trusted the other after centuries of conflict. Words and ideas are not enough, High Prism Zenith stated, light patterns pulsing with skepticism. We require demonstration. Agreement, Flow Director Cumulus responded, gases swirling in patterns that the translator interpreted as cautious interest. Concepts must be proven in reality. Captain Allison Wright expected this response. We propose a field test in a disputed system. We can demonstrate our solutions in a real-world scenario. The aliens agreed to this plan. They selected a nearby star system that had been a battleground for decades. Both fleets had ships there, locked in the same endless stalemate that characterized the entire war. Allison turned to her crew. We'll take the Horizon to the test site. Engineer Johnson, prepare multiple resonance modulators. Colonel White, finalize your strategic proposal. Lisa and Samuel, bring the empathy translator. We need to be ready for any situation. The alien delegations returned to their flagships, agreeing to meet at the test system. As the Horizon prepared to depart, First Officer Jack Bennett approached the captain. This is a significant risk, he said quietly. We'll be placing ourselves between 2 powerful alien fleets that have been at war for centuries. Allison nodded seriously. I understand the danger, but this may be our only chance to prevent more destruction. Sometimes peace requires risk, thumbed. Horizon engaged its faster-than-light drive. Within minutes, they arrived at the disputed system. It contained 3 planets circling a yellow star similar to Earth's sun. The once beautiful worlds showed scars of long conflict, cratered surfaces, and damaged atmospheres. In orbit around the second planet, Arcturian and Vesperian warships faced each other in a standoff. Neither side attacked, but neither would retreat. They had been in this position for years. The Horizon positioned itself between the fleets. Captain Wright opened communications with both sides. This is Captain Wright of the Earth ship Horizon. We are here with the approval of your leaders to demonstrate potential solutions to your conflict. The alien commanders responded with surprise and suspicion. They had not been informed of this development. After consultation with their flagships, however, they agreed to observe without taking hostile action. Engineer Paul Johnson prepared the first demonstration. He and his team had created several resonance modulators, each designed to reveal resources at different quantum frequencies. They loaded these devices onto a small shuttle. The shuttle will deploy the modulators near the second planet. Paul explained to the alien commanders. These devices will temporarily adjust the quantum frequency in this system, allowing both your species to detect resources that were previously invisible to you. The shuttle launched from the Horizon and approached the battle-scarred planet. As it reached the optimal position, Paul activated the modulators remotely. Energy waves spread outward, washing over the planet and surrounding space. Almost immediately, both alien fleets reported unexpected sensor readings. The Arcturian commander's transmission showed increasing surprise. Our sensors detect new deposits of the essential element, the crystalline being reported, in locations we previously found barren. The Vesperian commander confirmed similar findings. The element flows in patterns we did not perceive before. The quantity exceeds our previous measurements by factors of 4. On the Horizon's bridge, the crew exchanged hopeful glances. The first demonstration had succeeded. Paul's device had proven that resources existed beyond what either species could naturally detect. Colonel Adam White prepared the next phase. Using the ship's advanced mapping systems, he had analyzed the entire disputed region and created a resource distribution plan. This strategic map shows optimal development zones for each civilization, he explained, displaying a holographic star chart. Arctarians would focus on stable planetary systems here, here, and here. He highlighted several star clusters. Vesperians would develop these gas giant systems and nebula regions. Neither would interfere with the other's primary zones. The alien commanders studied the map with interest. The strategic sense of the plan was obvious even across species barriers. For the first time in centuries, they could see a path that didn't require constant conflict, but old habits and suspicions remained strong. The Arctarian commanders' light patterns flickered with doubt. How can we trust the Vesperians to respect boundaries? Their nature is to expand and flow beyond limits. The Vesperian commanders' gases swirled with similar distrust. The Arctarians will attempt to impose rigid control beyond their territories. It is their unchanging pattern. This was the critical moment. Understanding resources and strategy wasn't enough. The fundamental barrier remained. Neither species could truly comprehend the other's perspective. Samuel Peterson and Lisa Riley activated the empathy translator. This improved version had been calibrated with the data they had gathered during previous interactions. This device doesn't just translate words, Samuel explained. It translates thought patterns and perceptions. For the first time, you will experience how the other species understands reality. The device sent carefully modulated signals to the command ships of both fleets. The neural patterns of each species were translated into forms the other could process. For a full minute, silence filled the communication channels. Then slowly, responses began to come in. Most unusual, the Arctarian commander transmitted. We perceive flow patterns, adaptability, concepts previously without meaning. Strange sensation, the Vesperian commander responded. We experience stability, permanence, previously incomprehensible states. On the horizon's bridge, Captain Wright watched the exchange with growing hope. They're finally understanding each other, she whispered. The empathy connection continued, allowing each species to experience the other's perspective for the first time in their long history. Neither could fully adopt the other's worldview, but they could now recognize it as valid, a different way of processing the same reality. As the fourth hour neared its end, Allison addressed both fleets. You've seen that resources exist beyond what either of you can naturally detect. You've seen how territories can be divided according to your natural preferences, and now you've experienced each other's perspective. None of these solutions require you to change your fundamental nature. They simply expand your understanding of possibilities. She paused, letting her words sink in. For 300 years, you fought a war that neither side could win. Today you have the opportunity to end that war by recognizing that victory doesn't require defeat of the other. It requires finding a new path forward. The commanders of both fleets requested time to consult with their leaders. As they did, the human crew of the Horizon waited anxiously. They had done everything possible in the time available. Now they could only hope their efforts would be enough to end centuries of conflict. The fifth hour was about to begin, the final hour of humanity's attempt to end an alien war. The fifth hour began with tense silence. On the bridge of the Horizon, Captain Allison Wright and her crew waited for responses from the alien fleets. The minutes stretched like hours as both the Arctarians and Vesperians deliberated. Do you think they'll agree to peace? First Officer Jack Bennett asked quietly. They've fought for 3 centuries, Allison replied. Old habits are hard to break, but we've shown them something new, a perspective neither had considered before. Finally, the communication system activated. High Prism Zenith of the Arctarians appeared on one screen, while Flow Director Cumulus of the Vesperians appeared on another. Both leaders had joined their fleet commanders at the test site. The Arctarian Unity has considered your demonstrations, Zenith began, crystal form shimmering with complex light patterns. We find your evidence compelling. The Vesperian Collective has analyzed your proposals, Cumulus added, gases swirling thoughtfully in its containment vessel. Your approach offers unexpected possibilities. Allison felt a surge of hope. Are you prepared to end hostilities and begin working toward a peaceful solution? Both alien leaders paused. 300 years of conflict could not be erased. In a single moment, trust between their species seemed almost impossible after so much destruction. We require additional assurance, Zenith stated finally, a binding mechanism to ensure compliance. Agreement, Cumulus responded. Verification systems must be established. This was the final hurdle. Both sides were open to peace, but neither trusted the other to maintain it. Allison turned to her team for ideas. Samuel Peterson stepped forward. What if we create a joint monitoring system? A network using human technology that would allow both sides to verify the other is respecting agreements. Engineer Paul Johnson expanded on this concept. We could deploy permanent resonance modulators throughout the disputed regions. These would allow both species to monitor resource distribution transparently. And neutral zones could be established at borders, Colonel Adam White suggested, areas where both species could interact under clear protocols. Communications Officer Lisa Riley had been working on the translator data. She looked up with excitement. I believe we can create a permanent version of the empathy translator, a communication system that allows your species to understand each other directly. Allison considered these ideas, then presented them to the alien leaders. Earth is prepared to assist in establishing these systems. We offer our technology and perspective as tools to build lasting peace. The aliens deliberated again, but more briefly this time. When they responded, their decision was clear. The Arcturian Unity accepts these terms, Zenith announced. We will cease hostile actions immediately. The Vesperian Collective agrees to these conditions, Cumulus confirmed. All offensive operations will terminate. Throughout the disputed system, weapons powered down, targeting systems disengaged. For the first time in 3 centuries, Arcturians and Vesperians were not actively at war, but one critical test remained. Allison knew that for peace to last, the aliens needed to take active steps toward cooperation, not merely cease fighting. As a first demonstration of your commitment, she suggested, perhaps your forces in this system could work together on a joint project. After brief consideration, both leaders agreed. They selected the second planet, once a beautiful world, now scarred by war, as their focus. Using the resonance modulators, both species discovered resources they had previously overlooked. With their complementary abilities, they could begin restoration efforts that neither could accomplish alone. The Arcturians, with their affinity for stable structures, could rebuild the planet's geological foundations. The Vesperians, experts in atmospheric systems, could help restore the damaged air and weather patterns. Within minutes, ships from both fleets moved into new positions, not battle formations, but work patterns. For the first time, Arcturian and Vesperian vessels operated side by side without hostility. As the 5th hour neared its end, Captain Wright received a communication from Earth. President Gregory Martinez appeared on screen, his expression tense with anticipation. Captain, our time is up. What's your report? Allison smiled with tired satisfaction. Mr. President, I'm pleased to inform you that the war has ended. Both the Arcturians and Vesperians have agreed to cease hostilities and begin cooperative efforts. The President's expression shifted to amazement. You've ended a 300-year alien war in 5 hours? How is this possible? We didn't force a solution, sir. We simply helped them see perspectives they couldn't recognize on their own. The resonance modulators showed them resources they didn't know existed. The strategic plan gave them territories, suited to their natural preferences, and the empathy translator helped them understand each other for the first time. Remarkable, the President said softly. You've accomplished something historic today, Captain. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our adaptability, Allison replied. We understand both structure and flow, stability and change. We've learned from our own conflicts that different perspectives can complement rather than contradict each other. After the call ended, Allison addressed her crew. Everyone, take a moment to appreciate what we've accomplished today. We came, searching for new civilizations, and we found a way to help them find peace. Over the following weeks, the peace process continued. Earth sent additional ships with teams of diplomats, engineers, and scientists to help implement the agreements. The resonance modulator technology was shared with both alien species, allowing them to access previously invisible resources. The ITR empathy translator was refined to facilitate ongoing communication. A joint council was established with representatives from all three species. The Arcturians and Vesperians began the long process of healing wounds inflicted over centuries. Damaged worlds would take decades to restore, but the work had begun. 6 months later, the Earthship Horizon prepared to leave the region. Their mission of exploration would continue into other sectors of space. Before departing, Captain Wright attended a ceremony aboard a newly constructed space station at the border between Arcturian and Vesperian territories. High Prism Zenith and Flow Director Cumulus met her in the station's central chamber. Both alien leaders had evolved in their understanding since their first encounter with humans. The Arcturian unity acknowledges the debt we owe to humanity, Zenith stated, crystal form glowing with formal patterns. You showed us a fixed point we could not perceive from our position. The Vesperian collective recognizes humanity's contribution, Cumulus added, gases forming respectful patterns within its containment vessel. You revealed flow patterns beyond our awareness. Together, they activated a memorial, a monument, combining crystalline structure and flowing energy patterns. It displayed a simple message in the languages of all three species. Peace through understanding. As Captain Wright returned to her ship, she reflected on humanity's place in the galaxy. They had discovered they were neither the strongest nor the most technologically advanced species. But they had something unique, the ability to bridge perspectives, to help others see beyond their limitations. The war no one could win had ended, not through superior firepower or complex negotiations, but through humanity's greatest gift, the ability to understand and connect different ways of seeing the universe.